Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
This episode is supported by FX's Clipped, the scandalous story of the 2014 Clippers owner's racist remarks captured on tape and heard around the world. The series charts the tape's impact on a dysfunctional basketball organization striving to win against their reputation as the most cursed team in the league. Starring Lawrence Fishburne, Jackie Weaver, Cleopatra Coleman, and Ed O'Neill. FX's Clipped. Now streaming only on Hulu.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Hi, I'm Marion Franklin, a GB canoe slalom athlete.
Yeah, I'm Joe Clark. I am the Olympic champion from Rio 2016.
I'm Joe Fraser, Team GB gymnast.
Hey, my name's Emma Wilson. I'm a windsurfer. I'm really happy to be selected for Team GB for Paris 2024.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast covering the games all the time rather than once every 4 years. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and we're en route to Paris 2024.
It's 50 days to go, and we've got 50 new names to add to the Team GB roster for the Olympics.
The rings are on the Eiffel Tower as well. The biggest squad so far has been confirmed, 42 from British rowing, plus 4 reserves. And we'll have a look at our medal hopes after the worst Olympics in 50 years, last time in Tokyo. And there's also weightlifting.
And I'm in Sheffield today for Talk Sport, as we hear from half a dozen fighters who have been selected by Team GB for GB Boxing.
It's the European Athletics Championships in Rome, with Olympic medalist Holly Bradshaw back in pole vault action, and Michael's been speaking to Holly about Molly.
Molly Cordery, that is, and lots more actually. Really interesting chat I had with Holly Bradshaw, worth sticking around for that. And in our news from the games, we round up the latest headlines from athletics, hockey, cycling, judo and triathlon. And you can stay in touch with us and see what we're all about anytime on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. And you can find us on all the social media platforms. Just search for Anything But Footy. So then, John, the Olympic rings are on the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
It's 50 days to go. The Olympics, you messaged me this, it was quite scary. The Olympics are next month. And I'm at the UK Institute of Sport in Sheffield. There are a number of sports that are hosted here, but we know, of course, very famously, this is the home of GB Boxing. This is where all our Olympic boxers come out of, this magnificent gym where they have these huge pictures all around the top of the gym of all the medalists from over the years. So the recent medalists, people like Anthony Joshua and Nicola Adams, and some of our historic medalists as well. And I'm here because we now know the makeup of the Team GB boxing team. We've had the boxing Olympic qualifiers. They've just finished. And Lewis Richardson, in football parlance, squeaky bum time, the final boxer to book his place at the final Olympic qualifier. So we've got half a dozen. We've got Lewis, we've got Charlie Davison, Rosie Eccles, Chantel Reed, Pat Brown and Delicious Ori as well. Now remember, we had 11 boxers go to Tokyo. They won 6 medals. That was a record. 2 golds, 2 silvers, 2 bronzes. We had 12 in Rio. There was 3 medals won there. 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze. So it will be very interesting how this slimmed down smaller team perform. And we know there are so many variables as well in the sport of boxing at the Olympic Games, with judging and draws and whether you can get buys and things like that. And obviously it's all about the seedings as well. Looking forward to following the boxing, looking forward to following our 6 boxers in Paris, and you should listen out for them on Talk Sport as well over the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, so from a reduced GB boxing team to a bumper British rowing one, because Team GB have announced their biggest sporting squad so far, and I'm always told it's always the second biggest compared to athletics. Athletics is always number one, and then rowing tends to be the second biggest anyway. 42 rowers with 4 extra reserves have been selected to go for gold in Paris, including double Olympic champion Helen Glover in her 4th Games. Half the team are making their debuts after British rowing suffered its worst Olympics in nearly 50 years in Tokyo 3 years ago, with just 1 silver and 1 bronze. We'll hear from chef de mission of Team GB, Mark England, about the rowing team in a moment. The squad also includes Team GB's only brother and sister, Tom and Emily Ford. And
are we going to name them all?
Well, we're going to name quite a few, because what I thought was good, or what we'd do, is look at some of the medal hopes, because I mentioned that it was the worst games in 49 years from a British rowing point of view. And we've always said that last year, the delay to the games, you spend your whole rowing preparation preparing for that one day, and then to do it a year later, it just didn't work. And they had so many 4th place finishes in Tokyo, so you could say that they just peaked too early, which is understandable because they thought the games would be a year before. So some of the crews that we think will medal, our favourite term. My mum always tells me off for saying medal because it's not a verb. However, here are the crews that we think will medal. And let's be honest, any of these British crews could. But here's what we think. World and European champions, the men's 8. So Sholto Carnegie, Rory Gibbs, Morgan Boulding, Jacob Dawson, Charlie Eales, Tom Digby, James Rudkin, Tom Ford, who I mentioned earlier, and Harry Brightmore, the Cox. So we think they will medal. I'm pretty sure you can probably guess which medal we think they'll get, but we won't quite go gold, silver and bronze at this stage. World and European champions in the men's 4 as well. Ollie Wilkes, David Ambler, Matt Aldridge and Freddie Davidson. And the World Cup winners in the men's pair, Ollie Wynne-Griffith and Tom George. Some of the men's crews who we think will medal.
Yeah, they call the 8, don't they, the flagship boat of the regatta, and the 4 we know traditionally has been a stronghold for Team GB over many Olympics. And, you know, I was listening to Ollie and Tom, actually. They were on Talk Sport. They were in the studio recently talking about their hopes and their ambitions for the Olympic Games. Really interesting chat. So that's some of the crews, the male crews, the men's crews that we think will medal. Let's have a look at some of the women's crews. What about the women's 4 with Helen Glover, Esme Booth, Sam Redgrave, no relation, and Rebecca Shorten? They are the European champions, and John said Helen Glover is going, of course, for another Olympic Games, a double Olympic champion already. And the women's 8, the European silver medalists, can they upgrade that to an Olympic medal? The 8 are Heidi Long, Rowan McKellar, Holly Dunford, Emily Ford, Lauren Owen, Eve Stewart, Hattie Taylor, Annie Campbell-Ord. And, of course, their coach is Richard Chambers. And the ones that we've been saying for quite some time will be the nailed-on certainties of the Olympics. If you can get
no pressure,
if you can get a bet on, these would be the pair that we would put our hard-earned anything but footy cash on. In the lightweight women's double sculls, the imperious Emily Craig and Imogen Grant, coached by Darren Whiter. And I mentioned a couple of coaches there because I think we sometimes underestimate, don't we, in sport, the importance of the coaching teams, the team behind the team. So there you go. What do you think of those medal hopes?
Well, I think also the men's and women quadruple sculls also have chances of medals. So if you total all those up, there are 10 boats that British rowing are sending, and we're saying that potentially 6, maybe 8 medals, and what a difference that would be from Tokyo. The full squad is on our socials if you want to know every single member of the British rowing team, including the reserves as well, which are just as crucial because if someone's injured or unwell, they come into a boat, of course. It is all on our socials. And I caught up with chef de mission Mark England at one of the many announcements this week, because as Michael said, we've got 50 odd names to tell you about who have joined Team GB in the last 7 days. And I spoke to chef de mission Mark England, who told me the games are getting closer with 50 days to go, but also what a great chance it is to bounce back for British rowing.
Although 50 days to the opening ceremony, actually British athletes are on the field of play a couple of days before, which reduces it to 48, and we are, as we speak, doing all our build at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham to allow Team GB athletes to come into our environment to get kitted out, and that starts on Monday actually with rowing and sailing, so we're probably 4 or 5 days away from being fully operational.
It's a busy week this week. We've had the rowing announcement, the biggest team so far, 42 plus 4 extras.
It's the biggest team so far, and the rowing team are always just behind track and field at every games as the largest team. So, in my time with the BOA, with Team GB, it's always been over 40. And I stood in front of them yesterday and I said a few words, as I always do, about their selection, how important it is and what a great thing it is to become an Olympian. And I particularly made reference to three things. One is the 21 rowers who will be making their debut, and just what a fantastic accolade to become an Olympian. Secondly, I gave a little bit of a shout out to Helen Glover, her fourth Olympic Games, and a couple of them, including Helen, who are mothers now, and we've got, I think, something like 11 mums in the team, which is just terrific.
Now, you said on TalkSport this morning that you wanted at least 60 medals. That's what you said. I've written that down. Obviously, the rowing team only brought 2 home in Tokyo, which was their worst in 49 years. They're not going to do that this time. I've been looking at what they're going to win, and they could win up to 8.
We've done the maths, and we're, Team GB athletes, we're medal competitive across a significant number of events, and so, what does the British Olympic Association do to contribute to that? And we put in place an infrastructure, both physical and cultural, that we think brings a performance advantage. We've got 2 great preparation camps, Reims and Saint-Germain. We've got a fantastic performance lodge.
You didn't answer my question there. You're relying on British rowing getting you medals this time, aren't you?
Well, we're not relying on them. I think that they will absolutely perform superbly well. The last World Cup in Lucerne showcased, off the top of my head, 7 medals, 5 or 6 gold and a bronze, I think. So, yeah, they're in good shape. There's still a bit of work to do across a couple of the classes, but they didn't perform so well in Tokyo, but maybe this was the young crop that was coming through. They had, I think, 5 or 6 fourth places. But we'd expect a number of sports to multi-medal. The cyclists are in great shape, the sailors in great shape, the rowers in great shape, track and field's in good shape, swimming's in good shape, diving's in good shape, triathlon's in very good shape. So it goes on, and we're excited to see whether they can bring all this to fruition on the field of play. I'm sure they can.
Team GB chef de mission Mark England speaking to John. I'm in Sheffield, where the boxing team is being announced at the moment, and I think that actually is probably one of the easier selections as far as GB boxing and Team GB are concerned, because you qualify the name places. I think it's some of the worst kept secrets in sport who the boxers are going to be. There are more difficult decisions though down the road for Team GB and some of the national governing bodies. And still to come, we'll hear from another star, Emily Campbell. So from the biggest team, rowing, to the smallest team, weightlifting. We know that Emily Campbell, silver medalist from Tokyo, she will definitely be going. First, though, some other news from the Games. And I mentioned some of the difficult selections. And when you've got an embarrassment of riches, like British Triathlon have, that is where some of those selection difficulties creep in. Decisions are underway as to who will join Beth Potter and Alex Yee. They are both named in the triathlon team for Team GB. We wait to see who else. Last weekend, Sam Dickinson won the last event before selection in Poland, with Olympic gold, silver and bronze medalist Johnny Brownlee finishing 3rd. Decisions also taking place as to who will join Beth Potter in the women's triathlon.
Natalie Powell is out of Paris 2024 after not being selected by British Judo. She announced on Insta that she hadn't made the selection 11 months on from surgery and a more recent broken rib. She had been on course for her 3rd Olympics, but it's not to be for her. She admitted she doesn't know what's next. We wish her well, of course, as we do all athletes who some will be finding out, disappointingly, that they won't be going in the next few days and weeks.
I would like to point you in the direction of our latest Great British Bosses interview. It's a special interview with John Dutton, the CEO of British Cycling. 2nd appearance on Great British Bosses for John Dutton, who successfully, of course, led the team that staged the Rugby League World Cup in this country a couple of years ago. But John's been in Manchester. He's been up at the National Cycling Centre to speak to John Dutton. It's a really interesting interview. Loads of really good features, really good interview points points in there as well, and I would certainly recommend you go and have a follow and download that and have a listen. And the reason that John went to meet John Dutton for that interview, one of the reasons anyway, was the first ever Tour of Britain Women is underway. Starting in Wales, ending in Manchester this weekend. Olympic medalist Lizzie Deignan is one of the star names riding. Remember her silver medal from London 2012, getting everything going back in the golden days of London and the Olympics there. John also revealed in the interview to John that the team that British Cycling Team GB will be sending will be its biggest ever mountain biking team to an away Olympics.
We are probably one of the only cycling federations in the world that are still competitive across the 5 Olympic disciplines and ultra competitive across the 2 Paralympic disciplines. We saw the previous weekend Tom Pidcock winning in the Czech Republic. Tom will defend his Olympic title in mountain bike cross country, and we've qualified, I think, for the first time ever, 2 places in both men's and women's mountain bike. So qualification still to be finalised, but I think we will take the biggest squad ever.
So interesting stuff. Check it out. John Dutton speaking to John Cushing in our latest episode of Great British Bosses. Tom Pidcock, double Olympic champion. Has a good ring to it, doesn't it? More on all things cycling, as I said, definitely would recommend that. Very wide-ranging interview, not just about elite cycling, but about obviously trying to get people into cycling at the grassroots. Chat about diversity in cycling as well. I think that's an interesting discussion point. Plus, much, much more, including some of the challenging circumstances around trying to bring corporate partners and sponsors on board as well. So more on all things cycling on Great British Bosses with John Dutton.
Great Britain's men and women's hockey teams are warming up successfully for the Olympics in the FIH Pro League in London's Lee Valley. There's like a fortnight of matches taking place at the Legacy. 10 years ago it reopened. I saw that Lee Valley celebrating that this week. The men's team have scored 15 goals and conceded just twice in 4 matches, with victories over Ireland twice, Spain and India. Keep an eye on them in Paris 2024. And the women's team, who won, of course, an Olympic medal in the past 3 games, that is Tokyo, that is Rio, that is London, have won twice, drawn and lost. Last night's 3-1 defeat to the USA and a 4-4 draw with China, slightly more disappointing. Another 4 matches to come over the next week, and we'll be there next week, and we'll get some kind of real understanding ahead of the Olympic and team announcement that is coming your way. So make sure you're with us next week. And staying with hockey, Danny Kerry, MBE, is back at GB Hockey. He led the Great Britain women's team to an historic gold medal in Rio, as previously mentioned. And he also, of course, helped with that bronze at London 2012. Well, he is now going to be the new performance director for England and Great Britain Hockey, and he'll lead the sport into the LA 2028 Olympic cycle and beyond. Welcome back, Danny.
And I think we've already got a bid in for Great British Bosses for Danny Kerry for after the Olympic Games. And if we haven't, we know they listen. We would like to speak to Danny, please, on Great British Bosses. 50 days to go. The athletics season is gathering pace. The outdoor season, of course. There are plans for a new Ultimate Championship. We'll talk about them soon. We did obviously speak to John Ridgen, who's the chief executive of World Athletics, who hinted about what was coming with the Ultimate Championships, but we now have some more detail. So more on that in a moment. This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast. We're preparing for Paris, and so are Team GB. Do stay with us.
Many of us have those stubborn pounds that seem impossible to lose, no matter how good we eat or how hard we work out. My solution is PlushCare. PlushCare is a leading telehealth provider with doctors who are there for you day and night to partner with you in your weight loss journey. They can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound for those who qualify. Plus, they accept most insurance plans. To get started, visit plushcare.com/weightloss. That's plushcare.com/weightloss.
This is Anything But Footy. We're en route to Paris 2024. 50 days to go. The Olympic rings are on the Eiffel Tower. Do you remember when they put up at Tower Bridge, Michael?
Yes,
it was a very big moment, wasn't it, in the games, which I always look forward to and look back fondly.
Thought they might be bigger.
But they're the same ones that are in the park where you can go and have your photo now, aren't they?
I know. When they were hanging on Tower Bridge, I think they looked Not that we're to compare games. Thomas Bach told you that.
Yes.
But I think when they were hanging on Tower Bridge, they looked a little bit more spectacular than they do on the Eiffel Tower. I was expecting them to be up high and...
But do you know what? With the Eiffel, I mean, it's vast, isn't it? That's the point. I mean, those rings are huge, but the Eiffel Tower is massive. It is massive. And that's the thing that you forget. You look at these landmarks and you go, because when you're in Paris, you can always see the Eiffel Tower. It is incredible, and you're right. It's vastly bigger than Tower Bridge. But yeah, we are building up, of course, to these Paris Olympics, and we're going to talk athletics in a moment with Michael. But because he's in Sheffield, I went to London's Bishopsgate and the NatWest building, right in the heart of the city of London. They are a sponsor of Team GB, and from the biggest team announcement that we mentioned with rowing earlier to the smallest one. One Tokyo silver medalist, one Commonwealth Games champion, but now on her way to a second Olympic Games.
Hi, I'm Emily Campbell, a GB weightlifter that's just qualified for Paris 2024.
Second Games, with a medal in your back pocket as well. Yeah. You're going to enjoy this one, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, the pressure's definitely still on, but no, it's to qualify for one Games is obviously amazing, but then to be named in the team for the second is really special, and I'm really happy that I get to fly the weightlifting flag for Britain again.
And we're here at the NatWest building in London. And there's a recognisable face as I walked in.
Yeah, it's a abnormally large picture of myself and Mr. Whitlock and Miss Shriver on the front, which is really, really cool. So yeah, I've been working with these guys for the past year now. They've been an incredible sponsor, and I mean, they really have raised the profile of Olympic sports, and just messages as well that we put across. That's really important messages that we feel like to help the general public, feel part of our journey, but also to help them in their journeys as well. And yeah, it's just something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm really glad that they picked me to be an ambassador and work with them.
Now, of course, you've got to concentrate on Paris, but there could be more Olympics to come. It would be nice if there was another British weightlifter in the team with you.
Yeah, most definitely. That's what I mean. Yeah, obviously Paris, LA, beyond, etc. Do you know what I mean? And we've got some good talent coming up. And again, you know what I mean. Hopefully, I can go out and then can put on a really good performance again and inspire the ones that are coming up to be like, that's something that we can do. That's something we can. And we also hopefully. We don't know yet, might have a Commonwealth Games as well, which, we always believe a Commonwealth Games is a very good platform to launching you into that Olympic space, because it's the first one that's very like the Olympics. So hopefully, they can compete there and then hopefully qualify for Olympics. And yeah, or I hope I'm, I might be the first woman, but I really don't hope I'm ever the last. You know what I mean? I really want the more girls to be going out, and our men as well. We forget about our men, but we want medals for our sport. We want our sport represented, and who doesn't love seeing the GB fly on a rostrum? Do you know what I mean? We love seeing it, so if we can see it more in weightlifting, I'll be definitely welcoming it.
You mentioned the flag, and you mentioned the Commonwealth Games, because you carried the flag at the end of the Commonwealth Games, I think. Will you go to the opening ceremony? Because your event is the last day of the whole Olympics.
So we're still working out the logistics of that, because I might be going out on opening ceremony day, so it just depends. I might be a part of it, if not. But definitely will be at the close-in, because obviously it's on the same day as competing. But yeah, obviously, to carry the England flag at the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony was, more than an honour, you know what I mean? To lead a team out at home games is something special, and I think you'll speak to everybody that's managed to flag beer for their country. It's a very, very big accolade and a very big honour. So yeah, whoever gets to do it for us in Paris will definitely do it with pride, and we'll be following very proudly.
And we're in the heart of London. We're not far from the Thames. Can you imagine getting on a boat for an opening ceremony in the middle of London? And effectively, it's what's going to happen in Paris.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting, yeah, and obviously they've definitely thought outside the box with this, and it's really cool to see, thinking, it's a big part, it's a part to open the games. It makes everything feel really real when the opening ceremony started, and obviously I was one of the athletes who was actually very lucky in Tokyo to attend the opening ceremony, but, you walked into an empty stadium with no fans there or anything, so, I think Paris has really thought about this and thought, how can we really make it special for these athletes as a first one? And yeah, it's bizarre when you think about it, but actually it's quite genius.
That's Emily Campbell talking to John. Terrific performance in Tokyo. Good luck to her in Paris. This is Anything But Footy. On to athletics. And the European Championships are taking place in Rome across the weekend and through to the early part of next week as well. We'll have plenty on our socials, so do keep an eye out. And also, we'll have regular updates on Talk Sport as well. Back in action in Rome, and great to see her there, is Holly Bradshaw, the Tokyo bronze medalist, has been injured and spoken quite openly about how difficult she has found it since winning that Olympic medal, that longed-for Olympic medal. British teammate Molly Cordery, the world indoor champion, is also flying in the event, and I caught up with Holly as she landed in Rome.
I am Holly Bradshaw, British pole vaulter and Olympic bronze medalist from the Tokyo Olympic Games.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, on the whole, really good, actually. Excited for the Europeans. I've had like a tiny setback with my Achilles over the past 8 to 10 weeks, but I'm just coming out of that now. So yeah, I'm feeling positive. I'm not quite ready, but I mean, is anyone ever ready? I think what I would say is, because I've been doing pole vault now for 14, 15 years, I might not be fully ready, but I'm ready enough to, go and give the Europeans a good crack. I think my biggest goal for this season is the Olympics, so I'm on a kind of a building journey towards that.
Is it part of the process then, being in Rome, as opposed to going there thinking, if I don't leave with a medal, I'm devastated?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not, the European pole vault scene is quite strong, and I'm definitely building back. I was in a boot a month ago and did my first competition a couple of weeks ago now, and did that from 10 steps, jump 450, which I was absolutely stoked about. But yeah, I've just got back to 12 steps in training. I've done a few training sessions, so I'll be doing the next few competitions, including the Europeans, from 12, and then I'll get back to 14 for the Olympics. And I think, I'm absolutely don't have any expectations to go to Europeans and win a medal. But what I will say is I am kind of very open-minded to what can happen. Before I went to the competition in Germany a couple of weeks ago, if you'd have said you're going to jump 450 from 10, I would have been like, that's, I don't know whether I'm ready for that. So I do seem to have summoned some sort of competitive energy from the depths of somewhere, which is great. So I just want to go there and compete. I think I was speaking to someone the other day, and the last time I negotiated a major champs without injury or illness was the Olympics. And that seems like a lifetime ago now. So I just wanted to go to Europeans, negotiate a competitive environment, qualification, then a final. So then I wasn't going into the Olympics having done a whole Olympic cycle, having not done a major championships.
So where are we in terms of qualification? Tell the listeners where we are in terms of you getting to Paris and the Olympics.
There is an A standard of 473, which before the 1st of July, I really hope to have jumped that. I've got 4 competitions between now and then for that opportunity, and based on the training numbers, that's well within my capability. But there is also a secondary way to qualify, which is through the rankings, and they're taking the top 32, and I think I'm ranked about 20th at the minute with the British Athletics B standard. So hopefully I'll get that A standard and solidify my qualification. But if that doesn't go to plan, you never know whether it's going to rain, thunder, headwind, crosswind at a competition. Heavens forbid I have all of that in the next couple of weeks. But if I do, I can fall back on the ranking system. But my priority right now is to just go out there, compete, have fun, because that's what I've been doing, and it's been getting the best out of myself.
You talk about the last Olympics being a lifetime away, and we've spoken. There's been interviews we've done where you've been in agony, interviews we've done where you've been in ecstasy. What can you tell us about some of those challenges you've experienced since the last games?
It's an interesting one, because I think over the last couple of years, with lots of things that have happened to me, I've become a little bit superstitious in that instead of being very science driven and very numbers, I kind of am going a bit more off feel. And what I've noticed is if something somewhere is telling me something, I kind of listen to it. And I've never been that kind of person. And when I reflect back on the last couple of years, there's been so many situations where I really do believe that I maybe should have stopped after Tokyo. There's been so many times where I've been injured, I've been ill, this has happened, this has been thrown a curveball. and I've just kept coming back. And while that's really resilient and really good of me, I just feel like at every twist and turn, something's been thrown my way that's maybe planted a seed that I should have just stopped. But I mean, I've kind of turned it around. I'm this far into it now. I've got a couple of months now to the Olympics, and I'm in a really good place mentally and physically. So it's just I'm putting all those negative experiences behind me and just trying to enjoy the sport for what it is, because I was very, very close to retiring at the back end of last year, given what went on. And I was 95% sure for a good month that I was going to retire. And I didn't, because I really wanted to lead the sport on a high. I didn't want to have resent for it. I didn't want to have all the bitter feelings that I did have. And I feel like I've turned that around, and I'm loving it. I'm loving kind of what the sport is giving me at the moment. And I just want to have fun and enjoy my last couple of months.
And tell me to move on if you want, but enjoy those last couple of months and do it for your dad.
Yeah, definitely. I think the emotions of my dad passing away still shock me, a couple of times each week, but for a good few months after it, I would be really, really upset daily. And I didn't know whether with my life, was that ever going to go away? Like, was I just going to get upset at seeing something so random? Like, I'd see a robin fly past and I'd just burst into tears. And there'd be so many things like that. I couldn't look at a picture without being, overcome with emotion. And whilst that still happens, it's happening less and less frequent, which is quite nice. But, he would, if I wanted to retire right now in this moment, he would be super proud and kind of support me in whatever. And I think knowing that has helped me to carry on, and knowing that he'd have supported me. And he still has a ticket to Paris, and I know he'll be there anyway, supporting me. So I just want to go there and do myself justice and have fun and enjoy myself, and then I can move on to my next chapter.
I think some of my favourite Olympic medals are bronze medals. I think to Beth Tweddle at 2012, what she did for gymnastics, and Tom Daley for diving again 2012, and you in 2021, because it just seemed at last this is what I'd been to so many competitions and watched you, and you'd achieved something. How proud are you with the benefit of 3 more years and the stuff that's happened in between since?
Every medal is very different. And I remember winning that bronze medal, and I said to a couple of people, it honestly didn't matter whether this medal was gold, silver, or bronze. It would have meant exactly the same to me, because it was just, I feel like a lot of athletes get a lot of injuries, and setbacks, whereas I feel like I've been quite unlucky with how many I actually have. Like, I don't think I remember a single year of my career where I've not been plagued with some sort of injury or niggle or setback. And I think despite that, keeping going and then finally winning that medal, in a time where women's pole vault was really, really hot, I was going to major champs and jumping 480 and coming fourth. And that hasn't happened many times. So I'm quite proud that in a time where women's pole vault has been really hot, I've been able to snaffle one of those medals. And I do feel like, the last couple of years have been turbulent, and the amount of times I've felt like I wanted to quit and just stop. But I have kept going, and I think when I do pole vault now, I'm finally living my authentic self, which is, Holly who smiles, she trips over things. A couple of people in my new training group have said, "How on earth have you won an Olympic medal? Like, you can't even blink and walk down the high pack without tripping up." And that really is just me. I'm clumsy, I'm happy-go-lucky, I'm airy-fairy, I'm all over the show. But when I'm pole vaulting, I'm at my happiest, and it's something that I love doing. And now I'm living that without being so robotic and so numbers driven and so scientific and so like tunnel vision. I actually just feel like I'm unleashed, and I really feel like anything could happen over the next couple of months. I could go to a competition and jump 420, or I could blink and go and jump 490. Who knows?
And do you think that when you do finally say that's it with your athletics career, actually one of the biggest legacies for you will be Molly Cordery?
Yeah, I feel really proud of where women's pole vault has come from. Like, I have the the previous British record holder now coaching me, which has been amazing. And she's been amazing. And she is a brilliant coach and just like a brilliant mentor. And I remember when I was coming up through the ranks, looking at her thinking, oh my God, I really want to be like Kate Dennison. And then now I've passed the baton on to Molly, and she's doing incredible. And she's been an athlete that and I've known deep down has been able to perform at the highest level. It's just a matter of her trying to bring it out, and it finally has come out, which has been amazing. And I can kind of leave the sport knowing that it's in amazing hands. You know, she's going to go on, win Olympic, world titles, hopefully. She's an incredible person as well. I think one of the nicest, you know, other athletes that I get to be around. And it's kind of it's kind of emotional that I've not been able to be around her for a bit longer while she's been at this level, but I think it's kind of fitting that I'm on my way out and she's on her way up, and I can pass that baton on to her, and I know it's in safe hands.
And I know we spoke at the beginning about you and what your aims are for Rome. Hers has got to be a medal, hasn't it, after the World Indoors and Paris as well?
I don't want to put pressure on Moll because she is kind of the way I am now. She's very happy-go-lucky. She's very bubbly. She's very clumsy. And that's one of her biggest assets is she doesn't overthink things. So the best thing for Molly to go out there and win medals is to not have a whole heap of pressure dumped on her. And this isn't me trying to do this, but she's going to go, I think going to Europeans and winning is something that she'll be aiming for. And then picking up an Olympic medal, you know, she should be getting medals at the next two majors. That's without a shadow of a doubt. And that's not me trying to add pressure, but she needs to go and do her thing. She needs to trip up as well, because that's what she does. She'll forget this, she'll do this, she'll be very, very scatty, but she should be an Olympic medalist at the end of this year for sure.
Well, as always, I've loved chatting to you. Could have gone on for more, but I'll let you go. We'll catch up soon, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.
Holly Bradshaw talking to Michael. What do we think, Michael? Are both Molly and Holly going to go, or is it just going to be Molly? Is this a selection issue that British Athletics Team GB are going to have moving forward?
Yeah, I think, well, Molly will go. I'm pretty sure of that. As we heard in that interview there, Holly sort of outlined her position where she is in terms of qualification. What we've seen is British Athletics have picked a big team for these European Championships. So they're giving everyone a bit of championship experience, and they're giving everyone the opportunity to try and show where they're at. And there are others in the team as well as Holly Bradshaw. I think of Eilish McColgan, another one that's had a long period out from injury. She has a qualifying time, and I was speaking to her for Talk Sport just ahead of the championships as well, and she said, you know, a lot of federations would automatically select me because I've got the qualification time, but it's not that way in British Athletics. So I think we are going to go back to the Olympics and that Olympic team to a more slimmed down, more focused team. So I think what happens in Rome is an indicator really where everybody is at. And we talked about difficulty in selections. The boxing team's easy to select, the weightlifting easy to select, the athletics and maybe some of the other sports like with triathlon that we've mentioned as well. Harder to select, much harder, especially with this new regime that British Athletics have gone for with these smaller teams as well. So, yeah, I think very much up in the air for the likes of Holly Bradshaw and Eilish McColgan. If you like, they're at the wrong end of their careers. If they were at the other end of their careers, you would take them for experience. But Holly Bradshaw, this would be, and Eilish McColgan, 4 games for Eilish McColgan. So, you know, I think, definitely one to watch. Also, in the world of athletics, Europe has recently staged 2 big Diamond League meetings. Oslo, Matthew Hudson-Smith set a new European record there in the men's 400 metres. Thought he was in terrific form. Yeah. And then we found out he was withdrawing from the Rome Championships. Hopefully that is just to prepare for Paris fully and nothing more sinister, nothing more worrying. 3 days later in Stockholm, Laura Muir won the women's 1500 metres and Gemma Reed Ricci won the 800 metres. Gemma Ricci's at the European Championships, of course. Worryingly, in Jamaica, British record holder over the 100 metres, Zarnell Hughes. Big medal hope for Paris, walked away limping. So we hope that that's not too serious and just a precaution, again, pulling out of the European Championships.
Yeah, they keep it quiet, don't they, until they really need to come out and say something, because they don't want to give anything away to their rivals. But I think the athletics team is looking strong, as you say. I think good luck to everyone competing at the European Championships. This is a chance to get a gold medal. There's a chance to have a European title on your CV. And that's why, I think, actually, in hindsight, why British athletics have sent probably more than we expected them to.
And Gemma Ricci, I spoke to her as well for radio, for Talk Sport as well. She's obviously an 800 specialist. That will be the event that she will race at the Olympics, but she's going there to run a 1,500 metres. So, she wants to go there and win a medal. She said to me, look, I'd love to win another medal. I've won a World Indoors medal this season. I'd love a European Championship medal, but it's about the process. I'm going there to try and learn a bit more about racing, because the 1,500 metres can be tactical, where the 800 metres is a bit more of a dash, as we know. So she says, coming through the rounds, the semi-finals, the final of the 1,500 will teach me a little bit more about tactics. And of course, then she'll also build up that little bit of endurance that she might need as well. So that's some of the reasons behind that team selection and why certain people are in certain events. We mentioned, of course, World Athletics have announced their new end-of-season global championships. I'm interested to get John's thoughts on this. John Ridgen told us about it earlier in the year on Great British Bosses. So we've got a World Championships, which is staged every 2 years, and now we've got the Ultimate Championships every 2 years, and sometimes that will follow the Olympic Games. It's going to be coming to Budapest in 2026. Budapest staged a very successful World Championships last year. It's going to be September 2026. They expect to have 400 of the world's top athletes, 70 countries. Everyone will be being paid, and there will be just semi-finals and finals, and it will all be based on the world rankings. So effectively, it's a kind of champion of champions, best of the best.
Yeah, because I was thinking, why don't they just hold the World Championships every year? But the World Championships is 2,000 athletes over 10 days and 200 countries. Well, this is a 3-day event at the end of a championship. And I think ultimately it's going to replace the Diamond League. When I say replace the Diamond League, I don't think it will replace it, but what it will mean is that you compete at the Diamond League to effectively get to this Ultimate Championship. So I wonder whether they can't really announce this at the moment, because Diamond League is obviously sponsored and they're promoting that. But I wonder if it will be the Ultimate Championship round 1, round 2, round 3, when in Oslo, Stockholm, London, and then if you get through those races, because it's world rankings, you end up, as you say, at these amazing Ultimate Championships. And of course, the big thing is there's a £10 million prize pot, which is more than you get for the World Championships and the Olympics. We know, of course, that Seb Coe is distancing himself very much from the IOC and Thomas Bach by saying, I want to reward athletes by giving £50,000 for gold medals in Paris this year on the track. Well, in this Ultimate Championship, you are talking $150,000 for the winners. And that's twice as much as what you get at the Worlds. So that is really giving this difference. And what Seb Coe is doing is trying to say, these athletes, like your Noah Lyles, like your Sha'Carri Richardsons, even the likes of Matthew Hudson-Smith, we hope, and Katarina Johnson-Thompson and Molly Cordery, that you can win big money, because these are big names, as big as the likes of LeBron James in basketball, etc., and they should be paid for it.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. Definitely a step in the right direction, I'd say that. And 2026 will be a pretty special year for Budapest, because they're also hosting the UEFA Champions League. Is that a football match? The final of the UEFA.
Apparently it's quite a big thing.
The UEFA Champions League final will be hosted in the new Puskas Arena. And then later on that summer, of course, these World Athletics Ultimate Championships in the brand new National Athletics Centre. They had the World Outdoors Athletics, as we've said. They've had World Aquatics Championships. I mean, we are getting a little bit giddy, a little bit excited about the Olympics coming back to Europe. We know LA 28, Brisbane 32. 36 is still up for grabs. Our guess would be possibly
Saudi.
India, Saudi Arabia, Middle East or Asia.
Yep.
Could it come back to Europe as early as 2036? Will it be 2040? People are talking about London going again, or we've heard, haven't we, from some of our conversations we've had with people in sport and around that Sport Accord conference that Birmingham hosted, that Birmingham, Manchester, north of England potentially might be looking at the Olympic Games. But what about Budapest?
Well, I think it will come back to Europe in the 40s. I mean, we're going to be long gone by then, Michael. I don't mean.
I hope I'm not long gone.
I mean, we'll still be on the planet, but we won't be still chatting. We won't be still chatting anything but footy.
We will.
Well, we probably will, but no one will be listening because we'll just be old men.
We'll be our holograms.
Yes, exactly.
In a virtual reality world.
We'll just be sitting there going,
podcasts will be like the cassette tapes.
We'll record it in the corner of the pub as we.
We've done that before.
We have, but as we while away an afternoon. Anyway, but not what I'm trying to say is, I think in the 40s it will come back to Europe. Now, you could say, yes, you bring it back to London, it'll be amazing, London will do a good job, but it's about time that other nations stood up. And I think Budapest, there may be other issues within the country that they may have to deal with, but hey, which Olympic host hasn't got issues? I think they will put on, or they could potentially put on, an incredible Olympic Games. And they seem like they're building their way to it. And it doesn't feel like it has quite the connotations and the ramifications as, say, a Saudi Arabia bid, etc.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, we used to have the beauty parade, of course. We remember when London went up against the likes of New York and Paris and Madrid. Where does it come back to in Europe? Istanbul bid time and time again, didn't they? And never really got a look in. Could one of the Scandinavian countries step up and host an Olympic Games? Germany, for me, is the interesting one, because we saw that European Championships, didn't we, in Munich, and they will still have a lot of their facilities from 1972. But then we are revisiting, going back to old ground, and there's a lot to be said for that. But then I think there's a lot for the IOC maybe to take it somewhere new. If the opportunity is there, it's sustainable and it's affordable. So with 50 days to go to the Olympic Games, lots to fit in, and we hope that we've covered it all in this bumper edition of the podcast. So we'll wrap up quickly. Check us out on socials. Search for Anything But Footy. Read our blogs and our sporting calendar on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. If you've got an idle moment, listen to our Olympics music playlist. Have you added the Tokyo theme music on there yet? That's on Spotify.
No, I haven't, sorry.
Well, do that. And stay with us, because we are en route to Paris 2024, the Olympic and Paralympic Games.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.